wa ta'ala, and your heart relies entirely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that no one can do something for you and no one can take something away from you except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control. The laws of physics don't govern him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala governs all laws. So for example, I give you a few examples. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something to happen, it will happen even if it doesn't make sense to us. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want something to happen, it will not happen even if it doesn't make sense to us. Few examples. Does anyone have a lighter? A lighter?
Tonight maybe
No, mashallah, they quit smoking, alhamdulillah. So, mashallah, hat. So what is the job of this? To burn, right? But in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, this didn't burn. They threw him in the fire and it didn't burn him because Allah said, don't do it, and it didn't happen. Does anyone have a bottle of water? Yeah, there's some here. So what is the function of this? Like if we throw you in the ocean, so this will drown you. In the story of Musa alayhi salam and Bani Israel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told this, don't drown them. They didn't drown. When Musa alayhi salam hit the sea with his staff and it split, they didn't drown because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want it to happen. Now, does anyone have a knife? No?
Yeah, I have.
So the function of a knife is to cut. You know, in the story of Ismail, Ibrahim alayhi salam wanted to sacrifice his son, you know the story. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the knife, don't cut. Didn't cut. Why? Because everything follows the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now these are things that happen in a certain way and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want them to happen that way, so they didn't work that way. Now there are some certain things that work the other way and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted them to work some other way and it worked His way. How? If you look at the story of Isa alayhi salam, every one of us is born from a father and a mother, the male factor and the female factor. In the case of Isa alayhi salam, there was no male factor. There's no man in the story. It's Maryam alayhi salam. For us, it doesn't make sense because you have to have the sperm and the egg fertilization and so on and so forth. But in the story of Isa alayhi salam, it didn't work that way because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted it to happen that way. In the story of Yahya alayhi salam, who was related to Isa alayhi salam, it's the opposite. Because we have Zakaria alayhi salam, and you have the wife of Zakaria, who was not only 80 years old, she was also barren. So if you have a woman who was 18 years old, not 80, 18 years old, and she is barren, no babies. But she was 80 years old, and she was barren, she cannot produce babies. We're not talking about monopause, someone who is like 35, 40 years old. We're talking about monostop, completely. Nothing, no eggs. No eggs whatsoever. What's even more difficult is the story of Ishaq alayhi salam. His mother, not only was she barren, but she was 90 years old. 90 years old. Even in today's terms, where we have a lot of advancements in science and technology, it doesn't make sense. If you see a woman who is 90 years old with a baby, this is something astonishing. And what is even more astonishing than this is the story of Adam alayhi salam. No father, no mother. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something to happen, it will happen, even if it doesn't make sense to us. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want something to happen, it will not happen, even if it doesn't make sense to us. So what does that tell you? It tells you always put your trust in Allah. You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is running the show. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control. He is the provider. If you need something, say, Ya Allah, give me. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves it when you say, Ya Allah. Just Ya Allah. Why? Number one, when you say Allah, you acknowledge that Allah is alive because we don't call someone who is dead. When you say Ya Allah, you acknowledge that Allah is one because you're not calling more than one. When you say Ya Allah, you acknowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears and sees. And you acknowledge the qualities of hearing and seeing. When you say Ya Allah, you're acknowledging that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to you and He is the provider, He is a razaq, and He will give you. So when you actually make dua, one word, Allah, Ya Allah, or Allahumma, you are recognizing the different names or the beautiful names of Allah. And this is the beauty of dua. Now, as usual, I got only 2 more minutes. I'm going to tell you a story. I told it before, but I never get tired of telling that story to show you the power of dua and the power of putting your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The story happened in Egypt many years back, about 20 years ago. This brother, I know him, he's from Egypt. He graduated from Al-Azhar. He studied Islamic studies in Arabic. Now, he graduated high school. He went to Islamic studies in English. His English was in the basement because they didn't, those who taught them in high school, they were not qualified. They didn't study English, so they got anyone off the street to teach them English. So the examples I like to give from that period, when he made it to college, everyone was making fun of that brother. Every time he tried to read, they were telling, they were making fun of him. The teachers were telling him to keep his mouth shut because his English was so bad. So, for example, the word he used, based on what they taught him, for this, it's too much. It's too much, this. Not stomach, they told him it's too much. If the food is delicious, they told him to say the food is delicious. Okay, whatever. I speak language, right? So his English was miserable, right? So one time he decided to improve his spoken English. So he spoke to the top student, who was, top student in the whole of the government of Egypt, the country of Egypt. So he spoke to him, and I remember this story because it happened about this time in Ramadan, about 20 years ago, back in 1997. So this brother that I'm talking about told the top student, "Can I talk to you in English so I can improve my English?" So the brother told him, no, your English is so bad. That brother, his name is Muhammad. He said, "Your English is so bad, if I talk to you in English, my English will, you're going to spoil my English, and this is too bad for me." So the brother felt sorry for him, that he is trying to improve himself, and he's putting his trust on this guy, and this guy is not helping him. So that night, that brother that I'm talking about prayed Salatul Isha, prayed Witr, and he made dua to Allah. He said, "Ya Allah, Anta Rabbul Alameen, you are in control of everything. You can help me learn English. And I promise you, I promise to you right now, if you help me improve my English, and I speak good English, then I'm going to use my English for da'wah, fi sabilillah." So the brother started to work hard, started to read and study and watch videos to learn English. 3 years later, that brother that I'm talking about, he graduated top of his class. He was the first student, top student in the whole department. Second student in the whole of the faculty of translation. Brother Muhammad failed in the last year. So that brother that I'm talking about was appointed as a professor at Al-Azhar Islamic Studies in English. He got his master's, his PhD in English, and he moved to North America about 10 years ago, and he has been doing da'wah ever since. Hundreds of people have taken shahada at his hands, and he has done a fantastic translation of the Quran. It's called the Clear Quran, and he's giving da'wah and giving shahadas. I've known this brother my whole life. And when this brother was born, I was there with him. When he got married, I was there for him. And every morning, when I look at the mirror, I see this brother, because this brother is me. So I'm telling you my story. It's not impossible. If you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can learn anything. Urdu, Turkish, whatever language you would like to learn. No one can stop you from achieving your goal in life. If you put your trust in Allah, no one can stop you except you. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things easy for us and give us the best in this life and the best in the life to come. So the question for last night was, there was a baby in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made something haram for him. And the answer is, وَحَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَرَاضَ. Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made nursing from other women haram for him, except through his mother. And this is for a reason. And the winner is brother Mahmoud Rashid. Mahmoud Rashid, mashallah. He's been trying every night, finally. I thought if he doesn't win tonight, he's going to kidnap me or something. So I got to just give him the prize. Barakallahu feek. So the question for tonight is easy. There's only one ayah in the Quran that has the names of 2 masajid. 2 masjids are mentioned in that ayah. If you know the answer, email me before tomorrow Asr at Imam Mustafa at Anatolia Center. That's the age. Jazakallah khair.
المسجد الأقصى إلى المسجد الحرام.
So we're gonna do 2 rak'ah shaf'a and 1 rak'ah witr, inshallah. Pray 2 rak'ah salam, then I'll pray 1 rak'ah inshallah. So